Hola, hola, Steph. I hope I find you all well this evening, and I do apologise for that little bit of echo what just went out. But we've been experimenting a little bit with technology for tonight, my last show before I depart for foreign climes for a few weeks. And we've got gusts. Now, the observant ones amongst you will notice over there's a little face peeping round the corner. And if I go to this shot, no, not that shot, you will see, in fact, we have two gusts. To your left, there is the ever-gorgeous, ever-present and ever-lovely cat, Chris Heseltine, but to her right, our special guest for the evening, the Modfather himself, the man from whom all little gems emanate, the man whose knowledge about wire and connectors and batteries and buttons surpasses all others. It is the one, the only, Garry Dibley. Say good evening, Garry.
Good evening, Garry. Good evening, Dave. Good evening, Kat. Good evening, Forum.
Yes, we have.
Hello.
There we go. We have both Kat and Garry, and Garry has come along and has agreed to come along tonight and be bombarded by your questions, all to do with modding and stuff like that. But before we get into that, young Mr. Dibley, and I'm going to take you full stream very, very shortly, I believe you're going to be involved with the vapour mists.
Yeah, it would appear so. I think Jim put me under extreme pressure on Monday by saying it was due the following Monday, and nothing has yet happened this end. So I've got one hell of a busy weekend to put the first part together. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting weekend for me. But we're planning to do we're starting off with a box mod.
Right.
Probably broken down over a number of episodes, going into detail.
Right.
And we're going to be giving away as well 10 full kits, so hopefully people can follow along. So that'll be, you know, the box, the switch, the resistors, the LEDs, everything you need, bar a few hand tools.
That's amazingly cool. Now, I think I should also point out that last time we spoke on Skype, just so everybody knows, I'm going to be stuck in the middle tonight because, as I recall, you have birds there as well, haven't you?
I do, yes. We have a little cockapoo, yeah. And that was a total mistake. My wife made a comment one night and I come back with a bird.
Right. Did you say it was a cockatoo?
There, that's it, yeah, that's right.
Ah, well, I know Chris is partial to a cockatoo, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know what it is. You know what it is. My lot's bound and gagged tonight, so they should be quiet.
So what have you done? Have you shoved a duvet over their cage?
Absolutely.
Fed them all
Down
with...
their beaks.
Well, exactly. All right, what was that?
That was the bird.
All right, that's it. I'm gonna come back with a parrot.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back with a parrot, I'm going to have it on my shoulder, and that's, you know, if you can't beat them, join them, because there's no wax in this ear now, because it all gets blown straight through and out the other side. But what I'm going to have to do, I can see it happening when we've got one of these three ways going with Garry and Chris. I'll put both in, and then the squeaks can meet in the middle, and might stop me from going deaf. You never know, you look. Oh, right.
I might have to shoot it.
It's the bells, they make me deaf. Oh,
yeah.
I feel like Esmeralda.
He's been as good as gold up until now as well, hasn't he?
Well, if he's anything like Chris's parrots, they recognise my voice and for whatever reason, and say things like, what is it, splash shower?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's something about Mr. Dawn's voice they found annoying. I wonder what it could be.
I hope mine doesn't start talking.
Oh, have you taught it some good words?
Yeah, he can be abusive at times.
Right. That's fine. If it swears, I'm happy. I'm good with that. I always wanted a parrot that knew how to swear properly. That would be amazing. And I know some parrot jokes, but none of them, unfortunately, are repeatable on here, unfortunately. But there you go. Before we get into the questions from the floor, I have a question for you, Chris.
All right.
Ah, yes. And this is all to do with the the juice you were talking about last night. The one that
The mystery juice?
Yes, the one you said you couldn't tell anybody about.
Mm-hmm.
Go on then.
Yes.
Tell me, I'll not tell anybody.
Right, can I share the secret with you, Lee?
Yes, you can share the secret with everybody. I've had permission
But
for it.
I have permission, right?
Yes.
Well, what it is, Mr. Dawn has been giving his advice and his excellent qualifications as an expert in RY4 to a vendor who is producing the very version of RY4 that Mr. Dawn has come up with. So I have tried this, and I have to say, I'm not an RY4 fan, as you all know, but I've tried it, Sav has tried it, and it's absolutely lovely. And I'll tell you why it's lovely now I've got permission to do so. And this is strictly from my opinion, not Mr. Dawn's. But you know, when you have a tobacco flavour, it tends to hit you in the front of the tongue and in that general area. Well, this one doesn't. It's like when you have a cigarette, it hits you at the back of the throat. The flavour. I'm not talking about a throat hit here. I'm talking about a tobacco flavour at the back of your throat. And it's absolutely blooming gorgeous. And then the sweetness that we're all like, you know, the nice tones that RY4 has, stays at the front. So it's really nice, folk. I'm not just telling you bull. It's gorgeous. And that one's going to be coming out very soon. And I'm sure Mr. Dawn will be able to give you more details of all that. So I've shared my secret. There you go.
You have indeed. It's RY5. RY5. I was asked if I could come up with a progression. A lot of people will have tried RY, RY2, RY3 and RY4. And there is a progression that goes from Andy Sutton at one end, nuttier, or less, and it kind of nuts are here and it goes down, and the sweetness is here and it comes up, and this takes the tobacco side of things and brings the tobacco out. There is sweetness there, but not a candy floss sweetness. I wanted it more honeyed, a little more delicate, less in-your-face sweetness, so that RY5 is a step on from RY4. And it's being produced by Dekang. It's Dekang we've been working with, and it will be exclusive to vaporworld.co.uk. In the immediate, in the very near future, and will be available in all of their mixes. And I have the only 4 bottles that are left outside captivity, and they meet the specs absolutely bang on. And I was asked the question today, would it become my all-day juice? And I'm thinking it might. So I'm really looking forward to the production quantities of that coming through. But anyway, enough of me, enough of RY5. Let's get on with some of the questions and get Quasimodo there answering them. That does not sound to be a happy bird from where I'm sitting.
He won't be in a minute, I'll tell you.
Don't you dare send him here, Garry Dibley. Don't you dare.
I'm going to mod his bell.
Yeah, right, just take the P out of it. Are you going to be at Vape Fest, Garry?
I am, yes.
Take the cockatoo with you.
Yeah.
Take the cockatoo with you. I would.
And leave the damn thing there. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to suggest that, but seeing as how you've mentioned it. Oh dear. Right. All frivolity aside, what we got then, Chris?
Right, well, I will warn you now, for the benefit of the chat room as well as yourselves, we've got a 2-minute delay at the moment.
Right, 2 minutes.
So that the chat room knows we haven't forgotten them or anything like that, but we're working with a bit of delay.
Yes.
Right, the first question is quite an involved question. It's a superb one, but it's quite an involved one. It's from Mighty Mouse, and the question is, what are some of the basic rules when building a mod? And he goes on to elaborate wire type, gauge, switch, metal, plastic or wood, battery type, gold 510 connector or steel. What's more important, form or function? So it's quite a long question, and maybe we can deal with it in stages.
Well, I can answer. I can answer the first part before Garry even steps in. The most important part about building a mod is let Garry do it.
You're right.
That way, you know it's going to work.
And the second most important thing is don't let me in on it.
That was where I was going to come, because you know we've actually had a meeting of the Vapors organisation worldwide, because I just started it the day after your programme, and we've decided that you're going to be banned from using any form of tool at all, because you're not only going to kill yourself but everybody around you. But anyway, yes, right, modding. Mr. Dibley, the floor is yours.
Good God. Right. Well, obviously, a mod really depends on, you know, if you're making something yourself, form, function is entirely up to you. First thing, you know, when you're looking at mod is first thing I look at is what batteries, what configuration you want to use. If you're looking at you know, a 14500 battery, for example, or an 18650, the first thing you've got to do is find something that's going to fit in. And sometimes, you know, form will suffer and function will suffer. At the end of the day, if you're making one yourself, whatever feels comfortable in the hand and whatever you can get away with fitting certain batteries in will do. Whether it be plastic, wood, metal, a torch, you know, a desoldering pump or anything like that. The beauty of modding is for me is looking at something and thinking, yeah, I can make something with that. There's something, you know, to come out of it. That's the first stage. The second stage is you know, the fun of deconstructing that and trying to work, you know, what you want to put in it. Going on to switches. Again, plastic switches work as well as a metal switch. There's not much difference. I tend to stick to the 3 amp rated switches, you know, where possible. Again, sometimes, you know, a lower rated switch will have to be used purely because of the limitations of the space that you're working within. So what switch you use and wood, metal, box or whatever is really down to what sort of project you want to put together. You know, from a, if you like, a more commercial point of view, for me, I stick with what I know and what I know works, etc. But for somebody modding something, you know, whatever you can get your hands in, the best thing to do, to be honest, is get yourself in the local pound shop. Get yourself down to the torch and tool sections, have a good rummage. You can come out of there with, you know, £5 worth of stuff and enough stuff to play with for a fair few weekends.
when we're talking about batteries, is it important to consider the kind of atomizer that you're going to use in terms of standard resistance, high resistance, low resistance, and so on? I mean, what kind of effect does that have on the choice of battery? And obviously that then is going to influence how you can buy something to mod, I suppose. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, most of the, you know, like I said when we had the phone in, most of the batteries vary so greatly now anyway. There's I think the new sort of the new batteries that are coming out are becoming more standard. In terms of what you're going to use on it, battery wise, obviously, you know, an 18650 is going to give you a much longer runtime. You're going to drain less on a low res ATI, for example. Personally, I've never had a problem with using low res ATIs on 14500s. It's what I use and what I been using for probably 2.5 years now on low res ETIs, the dual core cartones. They all seem to function fine on it. Obviously, the thing that I'm getting is less usage out of them. The more something's pulling out of them. I mean, this is where then all of the new high drain batteries are supposed to be stepping into the field. With the 14500s and 18650s to give that that extra length of usage, as it were, on low res ETIs and things like that.
Yeah. And of course, the question was asked there about connectors. Now, I know before we came on air, you were showing me two new ones. Well, a new one versus the old one. And again, even with my limited abilities in terms of soldering iron usage, I could see that one was far superior to the other. But do you want to share that with the ravening throng?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, most of the connectors I use are of the brass type. I've never used sort of an alley type connector. To be honest, I personally hate the things. I hate them on ETIs. I hate them on Cartos. I don't like them. They don't seem to fit well. They don't seem to screw well, and there's always so many variations in thread sizes and depths and centre pin depths. I don't like them at all. But again, that's personal opinion. The one thing, the old sort of tiny, I'll try and give it a zoom again if I can. The old connectors, the problem that we had with them, and most of the modders out there will tell you, is the inserts, the silicon grommets, were absolutely diabolical. It didn't take much to crush one. Hopefully, if I can, I've got a meter here. I'll see if I can do a crush test for you on one I've got here.
Right.
Against the new type, if it works. But I'll see if I can sort of get this one up. This is the old type.
Down a bit. There you go. You stick your hand behind it. Stick your hand behind it, Gary. It'll focus on your hand. So that
God, that's easier than you say, Dave.
So you're holding it like that against the palm of your hand, and it might help the camera focus a bit better.
I've just had a wonderful Norton thing come up and lose everything. So there, where's the end? There it is.
There you go. That's better.
So in there, you can hopefully you might be able to see. There's not much to show. There's a very small silicon insert in there.
Yeah.
They crush very, very easy. This is a brand new one out of the packet. The new type that have come through are far superior in terms of being able to take heat from a soldering iron. There's more of a solid plastic insert in there.
Uh-huh.
So this is going to mean one thing for modders is, especially if you're, not everybody does, but if you're making a mod to sell, you want something that's not going to fail in 5 minutes.
Mm.
If you're making one for yourself, the same thing. You don't want to run the risk of putting on a new Carto, a new ETI, crushing it and shorting the battery. So these ones here, I don't know if you can see that. It's going to be very hard to pick up on this, but I like to call them the polos because
you can see a much wider white ring. Yes,
there's a much wider right ring in there. It looks like someone stuffed a mini polo down there. And they're much harder to crush. They're incredibly easy. I've got a multimeter here, just by chance.
Wasn't pre-planned at all, was it? No.
No, that wasn't at all. And hopefully the batteries. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to. Let me see if I can put this up here. I don't know if you can pick up the beep.
We can hear the beep. That's the continuity beep.
It's the continuity beep. Yep. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the move the camera down for a sec and see if I can get a bit more of a focus on this thing. This could be a complete disaster. But just bear with me a sec. Let me see if I can move this down. Tell me if you're getting anything.
That is cracking, yes. We are focused perfectly on the wires.
Okay. So, you see the ETI in there somewhere?
No, it needs to come back towards you a little bit.
There we go.
There you go, bang on.
So, we've got a nice beep there, and that's when we're getting obviously a direct short. Touching the centre pin in there and touching the outer ring there, there's nothing at all.
Right.
A tiny push in there,
and that's it.
and you can hear that shorted.
Yes.
So you've only got to screw an atty in a few, an oversized atty and an atty with a protruding centre pin. That's the problem you're going to get. Now this is where I hope this damn thing doesn't fail me. This is a new one. No short. There's a short obviously there.
Yeah.
No short. And it did. Do you know what? I've got an old bloody one.
I think you touched the side.
No, we haven't. I'll tell you what, Dave. I've picked the only bloody duff one out of the packet.
This is live television, Gary.
I will do that again another time.
Right, no.
But no, this one looks. That's just totally dispelled. I can see what's happened actually. This one.
Yeah.
I've got half a plastic ring in this one.
Ah, faulty.
And not a full one.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got half a plastic ring in that one.
That's not going to help.
That's not going to help. But, needless to say, the new ones that we've been testing, I've not had one short with the damn things, and I've been pressing on them like crazy. I rushed upstairs before, picked 2 out, and I've got the only duff one out of a packet of 60.
Well, I think actually, this is a good thing, because you have had the baptism by fire
of fire
that we've all had. I mean, Dave Kitson's tried stuff that's failed live on air. I have. I think Andy Sutton killed his silver bullet live on air, and I think we all know the cat's killed barrel loads of stuff.
Everything.
Live on air. She's killed it. She's even videoed it and didn't edit the killings out. You know?
I might even try and kill the parrot live on air if that goes.
But yes, so there you go.
But theoretically, Dave, they are far superior than new ones. Well, it just goes. It goes to show, to be honest with you, if you're when you're modding, and you're buying in a few connectors, this that, and the other. There are so many threads on there. I've got a brand new AT connector. I've soldered it up. I'm doing everything right. I don't know what's going wrong with it. It can be as simple as that. You get a duff one out of the packet. It happens. It's like ATIs. You get a duff one. They at the end of the day, ATI connectors are all made in China. There are going to be defaults. Yeah,
well, yes, we know what Chinese quality control is like. I have to say, what you've just told us about this crush test actually answers one of the questions that's been floating around in my head for I don't know how long, because I keep on seeing people saying that when atomizers blow, they short out, and I can't see how. Because if a coil blows, it goes open circuit, not short circuit.
You're open circuit, not short circuit. Yeah, this is why there was a lot of people found it. A lot of mods out there, especially when the metal drip tips come out. We're getting like a hum on the lip.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's the same thing, because you've got effectively you've got a constant circuit there, and you are some people with them on certain mods. If you touch a certain place, I had it when I had an Amiga and a few other things that have had that problem. Even the little gem I make, because the switch is metal, the case is metal. You're putting a metal drip tip in your mouth. It's nothing dangerous, but you feel that hum sometimes off the voltage.
Yes.
When energy blows, it's open circuit.
Yes, I couldn't see how it was possible to short circuit an ATI by it blowing, because the coil is effectively a fuse, and if it blows, it goes open circuit. So this short circuit that people experience is possibly the ATI's gone and they've decided to just screw it in a little bit further, and that's crushed the centre pole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good. You see, now for me, if we get nothing else out of this show but that tonight, that's a major plus point, because that's clarified and verified what I've been thinking for a while, and so for that, thank you.
Treat an ATI like a light bulb, effectively. When a light bulb when a light bulb blows, you don't get any light. Same thing.
Now there you go, Chris. That's why I keep telling you.
You dare start him off with light bulbs.
It's all about light bulbs.
There's a great little program that I've posted up on UK Vapors in the mod section, and you can actually simulate a circuit. So if you're looking at building a mod, take a look on there, because you can actually plan out the circuit beforehand. You can put in whatever components you want, whatever LED you want, resistors, and it will show you the current flow. It will show you weak points in the circuit. It will show you, it'll pretty show you the circuit running, and it will run for a certain amount of time. And if there are any failures in there, it will show you the failure as well, and where the weak point in that circuit is. So it's a very useful tool for anybody who's thinking of building something. It's quite straightforward to use. If anybody wants to know, give me a shout and I'll tell them how to use it. But with something like that, the thing that I do is there's obviously not an atomizer on there, so I put a light bulb in the circuit, and you can adjust the settings of the light bulb to pretty much perform like an atomizer. It's just a useful tool.
It sounds to be of major use, and while we're talking about that, of course, all of the components in a circuit like that, they're going to be joined together by bits of wire.
Exactly.
Now, when we first saw the question come up mentioning wire, Chris, you came up with something, didn't you? That there's an issue with what we up in the northeast would call booty wire.
Yeah, counterfeit wire of all sizes, and apparently the nation is full of it. It was a program I watched last week called Fake Britain. And they had confiscated huge amounts, and I'm talking millions of rolls, huge rolls of every kind of wire you can imagine that contains copper, every kind, and everything seemed perfect on them. Serial numbers, batch numbers, manufacturer's details, everything is perfect.
Yeah.
So the only way of detecting it, that it is fake, is actually to put it to the test. And that's what's happening now, that all this wire is being tested, roll by roll, which I can't begin to imagine the expense that is costing. But when they showed the sort of cable that you would use in a house, that you would fit a cooker with, for example, they showed that cable is built to withstand fire.
Yes.
So that if you have a house fire, that's the last thing that's going to go, And they showed the real iron, which took, I think, 30 minutes to burn through.
Right.
But there was no toxic smoke, which was the big worry. No toxic smoke at all. Then they burnt the forgery, and that went up in 3 seconds.
Oh my God.
With huge amount of toxic smoke. So it would kill anybody that used it, and you were thinking, oh my God. I mean, Sav won't mind me telling you this, but a friend of hers has a property that's up for rent, and that property is empty, and somebody broke in there. It's an all-electric flat, may I add. They broke in to steal the copper piping. Of course, there wasn't any, was there? But they smashed every single bit of plasterboard, pulled out door frames. That's how valuable copper has become.
Yes, quite so. And
frightening.
It is absolutely frightening. Now, I happen to know as well that you've got some personal experience of this in terms of what you do. I hesitate to use the word day job, but that's about right. Yeah, that's about right, isn't it, Garry?
It is, yeah. I manage an office for an electrical and data contractors, and we've been experiencing the same thing with cable. A lot of stuff coming over from China. They've even sort of copied the Chrome data cable, which is apparently one of the best to use for reliability, etc., etc. And what they're actually doing is an aluminium cable, with just a small copper coating. So, you know, a glance, you wouldn't even notice that. You're not choking on that new juice, David.
No, I was. that was. I'm actually just considering the situation where you've got an aluminium cord cable.
Yes.
With a copper coating. Now, I'm going back to university days now, so forgive me, but that's 1973 to 1976. And as part of what we were looking at then, there was a theory that electrical circuits happened down the outside of the cable on the surface rather than down the core. I think that's since been disproven. But I do know, and this is an absolute certain fact, if you've got aluminium cabling for your broadband and your telephone, you're guaranteed to get a lot less reliability and a lot less speed out of it. It just... I mean, you know, aluminium's all right on something relatively short for electrical conductivity, but on any decent length, oh, that's just shocking. Oh, Chris has gone all green on us.
But I mean, going back to, I think the question original was you know, what gauge to use in a mod.
Yes.
And if I'm totally honest, I wouldn't have a clue. I would have to measure the cable I use. You know, I'll be as honest and open as I can. I'm a strong believer in recycling. You know, going back from when I first started modding, everything, you know, was recycled parts. I tend to, obviously, I make box mods. The length, the cable that comes with the box mod, I use to make the box mod. All the snippets, etc., I stick to one side and reuse those in other mods. So the cable that I will use in all of my mods is the standard stuff that you get attached to an AA box, you know, standard AA box mod. I don't have the need to go out and buy rings of cable. It's superb. It's sufficient enough. Never had one complaint about the size of the cable used. So you know, I can certainly find out what gauge it is. I've even tried to do that myself and try and buy reels of it, but it proves pointless. You know, if you're going to make a couple of mods, first, you know, you're starting off, get a box mod. There's more than ample cable in there to either make a VV mod or a 5-volt mod. There's more than enough in that you get attached for the battery terminals to do that.
Cool. Have we covered everything that was on that question, Chris?
I think we have, Dave, yes. Dave, can you give out the Skype number? The phone number for VTTalk?
I can. It's 011. In fact, I think I may even have an overlay. I have, and there it is. 0117 2302 794. Please don't use Skype tonight, because as you've seen from what's happening with Chris, Skype is up and down like a hen and lass's knickers. So if you're going to phone in, we can probably get you in. I'm not sure how, because tonight we're trying it slightly differently in order to be able to get both sets of video in. If you can't possibly bang it into chat, it would be much easier, because of the delay that we're running with at the minute. Must be getting on for 3 minutes, possibly even more now. We're right at the very limit of what we can do. But it's if it's desperate, there it is. If it's desperate. But please, if you can't tonight, use chat. Would be most grateful, because we know we can get chat questions in. I don't know that we can add phone calls to the conversation that we've got going. So there you go. I hope that helps. So what's next then, Chris?
Right, another question from Mighty Mouse. How important is it to have a vent hole in the mod for battery ventilation? Good question.
It is a very good question, and it's going back sort of, you know, if we go back to the the ATI connections that we looked at earlier, the extremely good one that didn't fail, and the other one. But you know, with something like that, if you've got in my personal view, if you've got a mod that's got built-in safety procedures, for example, Let's just use a screwdriver on this one. Most I've had one problem, and it was again a crushed ATI connection. The battery did get hot, but the spring did what it was supposed to do in that mod. The spring collapsed and broke the circuit. In that case, you're breaking the connection to the battery. When people start taking things, a step further with stacking batteries, etc., you are then running the risk of increasing the possibility of venting. When you run two batteries together, effectively, one battery will get flatter quicker than the other. That's always the case, and what you end up then doing is effectively almost charging one battery through the second battery.
Yes.
That's when you're likely to get you're putting that battery under extreme stress. That's when you're more than likely to have an incident. That said, the amount of incidents that are out there with venting batteries compared to how long vaping's been around in the UK is quite a relatively small percentage. I'm not by any means justifying anything, but there is a very small percentage of incidents and failures. Most of those that have been out there, the one, for example, there was one a year ago where some guy took out two of his front teeth because his mod exploded. It came to light after that he was actually using batteries that were not supposed to be recharged. They were one-shot batteries from Maplins or something or other, and he charged them and put them in a mod, and that's why that exploded. Venting holes are good because obviously it's an added safety procedure. If something does happen, you can vent the gases safely away from the face. But it's down to the individual user as to decide what they want from something, and really to investigate what safety features that mod has or that unit has. I say mod because now that is used very openly in terms of all the new stuff that's coming out of China is classed as mods, etc., etc. So that sort of that meaning of the word seems to have gone into a sort of a grey area now. If you're talking homemade devices, if you want to build in safety features, build them in. If you're going to buy something and you want that safety feature, look for it. Whether or not it should be forced that is in place. But again, it's going to be very, very difficult to put something like that in place to manufacturers.
Right. Okay, we've got another question that I'm going to throw at you straight away, Garry, because it's on the same sort of vein. It's from Silver Surfer. How does a 2 × 14500 box mod at 3.7 volts compare to a 1 × 18650 box mod?
Good. Are you talking a regulated device or just two stacked to give 3.7?
What?
Yeah.
I suspect that it's two batteries in parallel.
Two batteries in parallel. I mean, again, you're up in the milliamp hourage effectively, aren't you? You're still going to get the same 3.7. There are so many variables. Again, it depends what it's in, how it's wired. There's a lot of things that can affect how a battery or batteries can perform. How it's wired, what components are used, what ATI you're using on it. There's so many variants, but effectively all you're doing in that situation is doubling up the milliamp hours, and you'll get a longer duration of usage.
Yes. Well, that kind of makes sense. I mean, parallel batteries, longer usage, same voltage. Stacked batteries, more voltage, less usage.
Less use, yeah.
That's the easy rule. Parallel longer, stacked hotter.
Yes.
Yes.
However, if you wanted to take that one step further, if you're talking a a regulated device, as in a VV device,
Mm-hmm.
I would say you are going to get a better hit out of the couple of stacked 14500s with a regulator, because they also regulate the current.
Yes.
So you tend to get a better hit on a VV device at a certain voltage than you would a single battery at the same voltage.
That echoes my experience as well, and I think, given what Chris currently had in her hand, she'll be experiencing that as well. Something at 3.6 volts on the Darwin does seem to hit better than at,
Exactly.
at 3.7 on something else. Certainly a smaller 3.7.
I've found I had a couple of the triple coil Cartos
Yes.
to try out that Toby asked me to take a look at, and I actually spent most of one Sunday playing and actually making mods to test out these Cartos, and on a standard 3.7 battery they were okay. Put it on a VV at sort of 3.7, 3.8 volts, and the difference in performance was incredible.
Well, I mean, this is what I've found as well, because the voltage that the VV, whether it's a Darwin or a Provari or whatever, whichever one it happens to be, because that regulator's in there, it's sorting the voltage out, so you are getting that voltage and it's not being dragged down.
Yeah.
And it's delivering the maximum current that it possibly can, because you can't escape the laws of physics, can you?
No.
So Watt's law and Ohm's law apply. I'm sorry, Chris. I noticed, did you see the shutters come down there? It said Watt's law and Ohm's law, and it just went, yes, glaze over. Think a shoe spread, it'll be fine.
Darwin's law. It'd be Darwin's law, Cat. Yeah.
Darwin's law, yes. If it's Darwin's law, you'll be fine.
Well, yeah, I've got Darwin's law here, and I'll stick to it.
Well, yes. I mean, basically, with a Darwin, it's dead simple. You more or less treat the watts that it says it's putting out as a temperature control. Call it a thermostat and go from there. That's probably the easiest way.
No.
Oh, what was that I saw you sucking on there, Mr. Dibley?
That's not the easiest way.
Of course it is.
The easiest way is stick it in your mouth,
Uh-huh.
turn the little dial until it tastes just right, and then press the button. That's the easiest way.
I need you to record those instructions, because there's a certain site for gentlemen of a certain persuasion that would go down so well on.
But it works. It then becomes every e-cig you ever wanted in one.
Yes, without a doubt.
So there you go. That's my motto.
Indeed.
Just twiddle the button. There you go. Instructions. Talking of the Darwin, Dave.
Yes.
Marky Dave's asked a question regarding the Darwin.
Okay.
He bought a second-hand Darwin. Is the display meant to flicker every 6 seconds?
Yes.
Yes, mine does as well.
That was a hard one. Yes, what it's doing is it's checking the circuitry to make sure that there's an atomizer connected, believe it or not. And it's literally just checking continuity and checking resistance, so that when you press the button, it's got a few fewer calculations to do before it settles its voltage down. And what it means is that on this newer version, the version 11, which I assume is 2011, you get maximum thrutch, if you like, from the second the contact is made, because it's got the information already. It's also checking, because on the original model, if you manage to get any juice inside, and I've experienced this so I know it to be true, you can short out this switch. Now this is on the old model, not on these ones. These ones it doesn't happen, because I tried darking it with juice. You know me, test to destruction. And on my old one, that switch has shorted because there's juice in there, so that it stays switched on all the time. And what this one's doing is it's checking to see whether everything's as it should be. So as you say, when it's switched on, the little light, and I'm going to hold it here for 6 seconds, and you should see it flash, maybe, if the camera picks it up. Maybe it's so quick. But yes, it's just basically powering the circuit up when the switch is depressed to make sure that everything's okay, and that there's nothing going wrong, i.e. it hasn't been, the button's not pressed when it shouldn't be, and that kind of thing. There's some really clever computer wizardry going on inside the Darwin. It's got a custom designed PIC chip in there that's got all this custom programming in that does all this clever stuff that's kind of, I know what it's doing. What I don't know is how to program one to do that. It's really clever. Really clever.
Right, next question, because time's marching on.
It's flying on.
I'm going to combine two questions for the next one.
Okay.
Mighty Mouse asked the question, is there one particular mod, Gary, that you've made and kept for your own personal use? And Zola asked the question, what is it you're vaping on now? Because one sort of answers the other for a start, doesn't it?
No, to be honest, the one mod that I made and kept for myself was it was a little one that called the tank bomb, which was, it's a tiny little thing that takes 16 340 battery and a tankette, and it's really small. It took an absolute age to make, and although a lot of people said to me, "Can you make me one?" The answer was no. That was the one. That's probably the most recent one I've done. The other one was a pipe mod that I've made that I kept. So there's not that many. I don't tend to. I'm a gadget freak, so I don't tend to keep things that long. I've probably bought most of the mods out there at one time or another and played with them for a couple of weeks and they've gone on. But I think the only one that I've kept that I've bought is the GGTB. That's quite a nice little one. Like the switch position, it suits me down to the ground. One I've made that really, I think there is only that one, which is the tank bomb thing. What I've tended to do in the past, if I've had any left, we've sort of give them away as sort of prizes on forums or something, or disposed of them elsewhere.
Which actually that does lead me into a little bit of a plug for the show on Monday, because my understanding is that there's going to be 10 kits for what you're building up for grabs. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I've got them all ready to go. So I think that the guys are going to be doing something on Monday where they'll be giving away, which is where we're hopefully doing the. I say hopefully, yet to make the damn thing. But
it's so in the spirit of Vapor Trails. Everything's last minute. It's just as it should be.
But we're doing 10, and please don't expect soldering irons and screwdrivers and cutters in there, because they ain't happening. No, it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be a double A box mod. It's going to be a switch. It'll be a resistor. It'll be everything you need to make a box mod, and hopefully be able to follow through. So there's 10 of those that the guys are going to give away on Monday.
That sounds like a damn good reason to get tuned into me. Yes, I'm a little bit miffed that I'm not. No, I'm not. I can always watch it on VPlayer and get caught up that way. But I do intend to follow it. I'm gonna have a build of one of these things, and I shall hold you personally responsible if I solder my fingers together.
Which is a possibility.
Well, if I follow the cat school of mod building, I think I almost certainly will solder my fingers together. That's.
Yes.
I glued mine together.
Yes, I saw that. I love that. This super glue isn't working, but why won't my fingers come apart? There you go. Right, shall we blast on with the next?
Sean, yeah. I'm going to fit in a question here now, which I'm bypassing one or two, but people I haven't forgotten yet. But it's a question from Steve Mack asking, if it wasn't for automatic batteries, wouldn't we be better using RCA connectors, Gary?
To be honest, the only time I've encountered the RCA connectors is from what I've read on the ECF forum. I've not used them. I've seen guys that played with them, but it's not something that sort of appealed to me, to be honest.
Right.
For personal reasons, they seem what is it? Too much faff for me.
Do you know something? It's occurred to me donkey's ages ago that people, I don't know whether you find the same, Gary, but people tend to go by the thread.
Yes.
So if it's got a 510 thread on it, it's a 510. No matter what the guts are, no matter what the internals are, if it's got a 510 thread on it, and it's not called a 306, it's a 510, so you get a 510 cartomizer. And it's kind of difficult sometimes, I think, to understand that the internals on, for instance, a DCC or a CE2, they made a 901 connector CE2, but the internals were exactly the same. And to that degree, it would be lovely to have a standardised connector. Absolutely would.
I think again, going back sort of when I first started, seems a lifetime ago now, but everything then at that time was 901 or Super Mini as they called it then, which I think is a 4081. It might be totally wrong, but that was the choices you were faced with, and then the 510 come along, and it seemed to, the 510 seemed to hit a spot for so many people that were struggling with the 901. Me in one particular, the 901 for me, great for flavour, but I just wasn't getting what I wanted. As soon as that 510 come along, that was it. That was me set, and the 510 seems to have almost become the standard connection of choice now. Most things now are 510. And it's like you say, everything that seems to come out, most of the new Cartos, that is, are rigged up for 510s. The only thing I wish that they would start doing is standardising that 510 connection somewhere along the way.
Ah, yes, the Ego variant of the 510 connector. Yes, causes problems all over the place. I mean, that you can even say that of these super duper mega throat blasting 5mm DCCs. I still don't fully understand why they're shrouded down, or why you can't unscrew the shroud. That would be easier. I mean, I understand it from a cosmetic viewpoint, but from a functional viewpoint, 510 it is pretty much, as you say, the standard connector. Chris, we are rapidly running out of time here. What else have we got in the way of questions?
Well, there's one that Saf wants answered.
Okay.
And she's asked Gary specifically for this one. How quickly after starting to use e-cigs did you start modding?
It was probably about a month or so.
That quick.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, there weren't that many mods. Were non-existent. Pretty much, the only mod that I knew of around then was the screwdriver. My first mod was, I bought one of I wanted to try a pass-through, and I bought one of the ones from, at the time I got it from Totally Wicked with the tiny little thin cable, and I was working from home at that time, and it lasted me a couple of weeks, and bang, the cable had gone, as is most people will probably know if you've used one of those. The cables on them are not that great. So my background is electronics, and I sat there one day looking at it and thought, well, I'll pull it apart and see what's in it. And so the first mod that I made was literally rebuilding that back into a pass-through, and that, I think I had a couple of pass-throughs that I made, and even back then, the one that I made then is the one that I still make now, and that was my first mod. It was literally because I had something that had failed, and intriguing mind wanted to dismantle it and have a look what was in there.
Well, there's a quick, if I may follow on from that. How many of those GD pass-throughs have you made now, Gary?
It's probably got to be somewhere around about, it's not huge figures, probably about 4,000-ish.
Not huge, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4,000. Wow. Yes.
Right, I'm going to ask a question here that I'm not sure anybody will be able to answer, to be honest, but I'll put it forward anyway. It's from Vaporman, and it's regarding the Bud Sapphire, asking, will the Bud Sapphire world a GDV2 box mod?
The Bud Sapphire.
I know nothing about it.
Right, the Bud Sapphire is a 510 connected clear atomizer, a clear cartomizer with a bottom mounted coil, but it is a 510 connection, and it looks to be, from the pictures that I've seen, standard size, and it's available. I think it's at Safer Sigs, but it looks to be standard 510 connection.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a standard, I sort of went down, and it was purely for selfish reasons a long time ago, that you know, trying to make you know, the same product with so many different atomizer connections as people wanted them, it became an absolute pain, you know. So I tried to, and as, I mean, the way that I used to get all of my stuff is I used to get all of the returns from Totally Wicked, strip them all out, and make mods from the spare parts effectively. And it was, again, you know, more and more that were coming back with 510. So I adopted the 510 connection. And to be honest, most things will fit a standard 510 connection, but there are variants. There's variants in the, you know, the thread size, and the most common one, obviously, that causes problems is the protruding centre pin on some ATIs. Which is the one thing, you know, if you're using something and you're screwing in a new ATI, realistically, when you look at the bottom of an ATI, it should be flush. So take a look at it first, but you know, before you stick it on anything. If it's not flush, most of them have a degree of movement in that you can push it down flush before you screw it onto an ATI. Onto a, you know, a battery or a mod or something.
Yes.
It's the best way. You know, have a look at it first, because otherwise, you know, I've got Reaver batteries that have been crushed by, you know, I'm constantly pulling out the centre pins on lots of things when I try out new ATIs. So that's the problem. Nothing standardised really.
Yes, I think the watchword has to be take a look at it and screw it in as far as it needs to be to make contact, and then leave it alone.
Yeah.
I know from the good old days with the studio, drummers have the world's strongest grip and the world's strongest forearms, because I used to go in to put the cymbal stands back to where they'd been, and I used to have to get the pliers out on the wing nuts, and I mean, these are fairly big wing nuts, but it was kind of, once a screw's bitten and it's tight, it's not going to move. You don't need to give it another 180 degrees from there, and it's exactly the same with an atomizer or a cartomizer.
It is, yeah.
Tighten it down till it makes contact, give it a quick push. If it's working, let it bide. That's always been my advice. The only change, the only difference to that is with one of these, with a UFS, where you've got to screw it down really tight, but that's got a movable pin in it, so it doesn't actually affect. You're not going to kill anything. Have we handled that one, Chris?
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes left, and I'm going to put the next 3 questions together. Okay. Because they're all for you, Dave.
Right.
The first one's from Chelsea.
Okay.
What is to use in a UFS? The second one is from Seabiscuit. When will we be able to buy Hi-Fi Zone juice? And the third one's from Vaporman. Will you be becoming a vendor then, Dave?
Right, I'll go in reverse order. No, I'm not going to become a vendor. I was asked to help put this RY5 together because apparently I like RY4. Who knew?
There's a rumour.
There's rumour going round that I know RY4, and yes, maybe I do. But I took it as a great compliment that Paula at vaporworld.co.uk would tie me up with Dekang to do this, to come up with a successor to the RY4 or the RY family. And what I've tried to do is to put together a juice that does actually take the progression on and leaves room for a 6. Because, you know, so that there's an RY family that you can work your way through. And they've all got a use. So that's where that one's at. That will be available, I think, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Just keep your eyes on the Vapor World site. If you can get hold of Paula, ask her, but I spoke to her today, just to confirm everything up and you know, confirm where the flavours and everything were, and I'm wholly satisfied that it is a good successor to the RY family. I am completely satisfied with that, and I kind of, it's difficult to say anything other than I like it, because I kind of made it, if you like, and just so that everybody knows, I shall not be reviewing it. Right, I'm going to let all my colleague presenters do that and let everybody else do that. But bear in mind, it's not meant as a replacement for RY4. It's to widen the series of RY juices. So there's that one. And so that's the last one and the middle one. What was the first one? Atties. Atties in
what Atties to use in a UFS?
Well, what I've got in this one at the moment is a 306.
How?
Ah. Hello, Gary's gone. How I've done it, the 306 comes when you buy it, or a Cisco one at any rate, comes when you buy it with a mouthpiece on it. And if you have a CE2 clearomizer shell, the body of, so if you've taken it off to stick it in an Arri tank or a map tank, that slides over the mouthpiece and seals to the bottom quite nicely, which means with a little bit of judicious knifery, you can cut it to exactly the right length to go into your UFS. Now, there's one thing that you need to be aware of, and that is because that CE2 shell is a little bit wider than the extension that you would normally get with the UFS, the O-ring grips it rather more tightly than you would like, and that means when you unscrew the top cap, it can lift that shell up a little bit. So once you've found the right level for you, and I've got a 1.5 ohm Cisco in here, you've got to leave it, and you've got to just open it a little bit at a tiny little wee bit at a time until you find that bang on spot. Once you've found that, just don't change it. Don't change it at all. And this one's served me well. The one thing you do need to know is it's the juice vendor's friend, because you're looking at, I've gone through 15 mil today.
Yeah. Up
to yet, it's getting through it. Otherwise, what I'm using at the moment, 510 wise, is the totally wicked low resistance 510s, and they are Joy 510s, and they are absolutely superb in it. You can get it set exactly right for you. They're lasting me a good 60-70 mil before they start to get to the point where I'm thinking I need a 12 volt battery in here, and they're doing the job really nicely, and I'm quite liking those. So those are my two atomizers of choice at the moment for the UFS on a GGTS with an 18650 in. I've had success with the E-small ones from Toby as well. His 2 ohms, very nice. They've not presented a problem to me at all. But yeah, that's pretty much where I would be with those. And unfortunately, if I do that, people will see we've lost Gary. I don't know where he's gone. This is Skype for you. But he's disappeared off the face of the planet, unfortunately. So it's just you and me now, Chris.
And it's 4 minutes past 10.
So it's shortly to be neither of us.
It's shortly to be neither.
Right. Well, I'm gonna sign off. Oh, I think we probably should, because apparently I need to pack.
You do?
Yes. Apparently puts and I need to sort more. I mean, I'm not bothered about the clothes because
it's the e-cigs, we know.
Absolutely right. And I've got to get. I need 500 mils of juice to go across there. I'm there for 3 weeks, and I dare not take less than 500. Just in case, because I know everybody's going to be trying them. But just to remind...
I'm sure on behalf of everybody, I'm going to wish you on behalf of everybody in chat, have a wonderful, wonderful holiday and a well-deserved break.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that, and thanks everybody in chat for that. I'm looking forward to being rested, relaxed and sorted out by the time I get back. But in the meantime, tomorrow night, I believe Mr. Sutton will be taking the slot that I usually have to entertain you all. So please tune in for Andy. We've missed him. Sunday, I'm pretty sure it'll be Mr. Kitson that will be in there at the very least. Monday, we know the Vapor Mists are there, and you can't afford not to tune in for the Vapor Mists because you know there's 10 kits there. You know that's going to happen. Mr. Dibley, underwritten, put together, there and ready for you to go and build your own mod. I envy you. Be there. Do that. Then Tuesday, well, it's the e-cig goddess herself. with her offspring, which the offspring means she's a demigod. So the goddess and the demigod of e-cigs will be with you on Tuesday night. And the goddess herself will be with you next Wednesday night. And I'm kind of hoping that she'll get a little bit more help out of Mr. Dibley. I've not been watching the chat room tonight. As I said, we've been right on the edge with technology. But my assumption is that it's all gone well, that everybody's enjoyed it and they want to see more of that, in which case that'll be there. And then, a week tomorrow, I've given me brother the keys to the studio. And on that note...
It's all downhill.
Yes, it can only go up from there. So he's got the keys to the studio for a week on Thursday. Kat, thank you yet again so much for giving me a hand, well, for being part of the team. And the same I have to say to Sav, what a cracking job you do. Thank you in his absence to Garry Dibley. I have learned so much tonight. I've been absolutely fascinated by it, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with the shows on VPlayer when Gary's on. And I would like to think we'd have him on at least fortnightly, so that people can find out what they need to know. It might seem a bit of a GD fest, but frankly I don't care. He's the Modfather, and that's cool. So until I see you next time, people, vaya con Dios, hasta luego, and I'll say that when I get back here.
It's more like it, I can understand that.
There you go. So,
good night, everyone.
Night, everybody. Let's try the titles because we didn't play them at the top. Cherry bye. See you when I get back.